Lesson 12. Out of unity you arise. The return to unity is your destiny. The mind discovers the path of return while the heart provides the key to each stage along the way. Dear friend, service and the invisible order. Service. If you want to advance on the esoteric path, after the first steps have been accomplished, you should make an effort to serve. The first principle to be applied on the path, in relation to our world, is that we should not seek to get more through the esoteric path but to become more. We should accept the gifts of the invisible, but it is not a good practice to request them. On the other hand, it is of great importance to accept what is asked of you and to work on it. Any individual who has started to lift the barrier of birth and death, automatically enters the soul authentic esoteric organization, the one which doesn't proceed from the earth plane but from the invisible world. The invisible order in the New Sur le Sanctuaire, Cloud over the Sanctuary, Carl von Eichhardt speaks to us of this invisible order. We quote here a few lines. This community of light has been in existence since the first day of creation and shall last until the end of times. It is the society of the chosen ones who know light from darkness and separate that which is pure. This community possesses a school in which all those who thirst for knowledge are instructed by the Spirit of Wisdom itself, and all the mysteries of God or nature are preserved for the children of light. A perfect knowledge of God, nature and humanity are the objects of the teachings of this school. Through it all truths penetrate this world. This school of wisdom has always remained shrouded in secrecy, hidden from the world, because it is invisible and submits to divine governance only. This community has no outer barriers. One who may be chosen by God is exactly like the first one. He is among others without presumption and is welcomed without jealousy. Anyone can hope to enter the path and any man can teach one who is seeking the path, but only the mature one shall enter. One who is ready is joined to the chain, perhaps at the moment when he feels the least capable and even may not be aware of it. Striving to become ready is the continuous effort of one who loves wisdom. The text just quoted dates back to the time when religion was quite powerful and the phraseology is adapted in consequence. But here, as for the various philosophical schools which attempted to speak on the subject, we have to admit that very few real things have been said. Thus, for our benefit, we shall attempt to gain an understanding of the very nature of the invisible order. It is, in fact, a group of beings, incarnated or not, who definitely went through the initiation of the nadir and who later have acquired a degree of inner realization. These beings are members of this order insofar as they have accepted the responsibility of serving the cause of universal evolution. This order has no organized physical structure, but it can be influential in certain philosophical groups or schools. Its hierarchy, if there is any, doesn't result from the degree of inner realization attained. All members have risen to a point of evolution sufficient to enable them to receive the teaching and the necessary instructions for their work without the information passing through any material channel of the earth plane. In all of them the little king accepts the rules of the great king, the higher self, and instructions can be transmitted as a consequence of the acquisition of the inner transparency. With each step on the path, the scope of the action increases. But all these beings remain free because wisdom guides each one by applying the laws of nature justly at the level of the degree attained. In this domain wisdom reunite order and freedom. In her work no being of the earthly plane can open the doors of the invisible order. Only your inner master can do that in you, and he does it only when you prepared yourself for that. If it were otherwise, universal justice would be betrayed. Once again, you can only be the son of your deeds, nothing else. The degree of one's penetration of the invisible order depends upon the transparency you have attained or the breaking of your inner barriers. The only thing others can do for you is to indicate how you can progressively overcome these barriers which limit you in your awareness while in awe of the world of matter. In this work, helping yourself is the first condition if you wish to be admitted to serve. As a matter of fact, in this domain you can help others validly only insofar as you have started and advanced in the work. Contacts. As we mentioned already, the first condition before being admitted to the preparatory work is to have cleared the initiation of the nadir. During the preparatory work there is no or little conscious contact besides psychic experiences during sleep. There is, however, a constant physical phenomenon which is translated as a permanent occult protection which, regardless of one's life events, renders your esoteric work always possible. Toward the end of the preparatory work, concrete opportunities of service will present themselves. Their domain may vary a lot, but generally they mostly concern esoteric teachings. Above all, do not imagine that an invisible master is going to be present. We have provided a teaching using symbols. It provides a basis that you should adapt to your own path. The aim of the work with symbols is to gain access to genuine teachings, not ours, but those of the night school. This might occur in your dreams. In this way, you'll find yourself in a strange state quite different from the dream state. You might feel more conscious than during the waking state, but you won't be aware of your body. You'll find yourself in a classroom, seated, or rather placed in the first row, and the master will appear to teach. Again, remember that no master is going to bother with you. The master who teaches is your higher self. The students behind you are your past incarnations. Part of the teaching is direct, the other part occurs through symbols, especially if your way is alchemy or Kabbalah. Consequently, it is important to study these subjects in order to decode the teaching. A series of night experiences occurs and generally lasts several years. The first series appears like dreams, going through caves, tunnels, speleology, etc., and little by little the dream becomes more alive and familiar, so much so that from the start, you'll know its future unfoldment. You'll know all the ways and obstacles. Once this series is mastered, which concerns the element earth, the series of the element water will replace it, then air, and finally fire. After these 4 series, a direct teaching takes place during the night which deals with your initiatory path. Then the 4 series will start again at a different level, and so on. Paths interspersed with initiations, see Appendix 2. As soon as you wake up, write down these symbols and the teaching without delay, because the elements are not fixed and therefore volatilize easily, at least in the beginning. In our world, writing alone definitely fixes knowledge. We should strive to efficiently concentrate the symbolic part if possible into a single word. This word will later become a symbol and a key to awaken all the domains concerned with the teaching of the night. From that moment on, but not before, you'll be admitted into service. Your work for service will be indicated during the night, and the conditions needed for its execution will be spontaneously realized. Do not seek great accomplishments for yourself, for you'll be progressively enlightened as you advance in your preparation. The inner master, again our only master, is our inner master who is in each of us. A genuine master, that is, a recognized servant of the invisible, is never presented as such, and if he accepts the role of guiding some, he leaves them nonetheless the most complete freedom. A true guide doesn't impose trials, doesn't seek to have authority on the ones he guides, at best he advises them. We explained that man involves and evolves after his initiation of the nadir. Here is an example which can be useful to you. When the initiate of level 6 received the order to create a new religious current, he was reascending, therefore he mastered the positive laws of that level. At the same time period, Simon the magician, who is also from level 6, possessed the same powers, but the absence of the initiation of the nadir led him to use the negative aspects of the laws of that level. Nowadays, numerous pseudo-masters are in the same position, that is, at a high level but on the descent, involving the action of demonstrating the faculties of these levels indicates a descent situation. How could a being whose involution is not complete help those who are reascending? Know how to recognize the false prophets. Remember that your progress does not depend upon you alone. Seriously study the 7 rules of the Forma Fraternitatis, which are the material expression of the invisible order. We need wisdom and reason without letting reason dry up our heart. heart and sensitivity without falling into the trap of sentimentality. Oratory work. If you practice a so-called secret or occult science, sooner or later you'll be led to use the energies of the geniuses of the presence or the planetary geniuses. Lesson 6. To use them you should first obtain an ample reserve of energy by practicing the descent of energies as indicated in the exercise of Lesson 9 either for Level 1 or Level 10. We can never say it enough, in order to reactivate his energies man doesn't have the right to perturb nature in this domain, therefore he can only start with Level 1 exclusively, in which there is an infinite amount of energy. Proposed exercise. Drawing energy from one level. Only when you need to draw some energy at a particular level for your oratory work, it is necessary, if not imperative, for you to have already performed a descent of energies from Level 1 to Level 10 several times, and the last time shouldn't have been more than a week prior. Usual setup. Work during the active hour of the planetary genius radiation which corresponds to this level. Suppose you need to draw energy from Level 5. Mars, you have the choice of either working during the first hour on Tuesday or any other hour of the Mars genius on that day or another day except for Sunday. As a matter of fact, it is good to be alert here because there are some daily incompatibilities, see Appendix -1. Place the symbols of Level 5 in front of you, the pentagon, the inscribed polygon and the planetary sign, see Oratory Lesson 4. Vibrate the 4 names of this level in the following sequence: fire, air, water, earth. Meditate a few moments in a state of receptivity in order to place yourself in resonance with the energy you are drawing. Perform the closing gesture or the closing word. Of course, the use of astrological energies by using the hours of the geniuses of the presence is not incompatible with classic positional astrology. The latter, following the astral configuration of the moment, will add or subtract effectiveness from the influence of the genius of the presence. Ora et labora. The philosophers of nature appendices, #1 favorable and unfavorable combinations of the geniuses of the presence. 2. The esoteric path. Addendum, end of the course. Appendix -1 favorable and unfavorable combinations of the geniuses of the presence. The favorable or unfavorable character of these combinations is valid only in the event you are read to DRWN from a single level. Saturday, the day of Saturn, it is better not to use Jupiter or Mercury. Sunday, the day of the Sun, do not choose Mars. Monday, the day of the Moon, there is no hostile planet. Tuesday, do not use the Sunday. Wednesday, the day of Mercury, do not use Saturn. Day, the day of Jupiter, do not use Saturn. Friday, the day of Venus, there is no hostile planet. On the other hand, there are favorable combinations. Monday, Mercury is propitious. Wednesday, the Moon or the Sun are propitious. Friday, the Sun is propitious. If, during the action hours of the day, the energy which is radiated by the planetary genius is positive, the energy radiated during the night is negative. The action hours of the night remain under the influence of the planetary genius of the day, but the first genius of the night acquires a certain strength. Thus, the night from Saturday to Sunday starts with Mercury, hostile to Saturn. The negative aspects of the night are powerful. The night from Sunday to Monday starts with Jupiter, indifferent to the Sun. As Jupiter is a small sun somewhat like the Sun of the Sunday, there is no specific negative effects in the night from Monday to Tuesday. The night from Tuesday to Wednesday starts with Saturn, opposed to Mars in the tree of life. The negative aspects of the night are weakened in that way. The night from Wednesday to Thursday starts with the Sunday, the Sun-Mercury compatibility, and the paths of the tree of life ruled by these two planets give a great significance to this night for psychic and spiritual realizations. The night from Thursday to Friday is presided over by the Moon and is under the influence of Jupiter. It makes for an easy contact with the lunar world, the astral of Yetzirah. The night from Friday to Saturday is presided over by Mars, the complementary of Venus. It is the night of Good Friday in which the combined elements of Venus and Mars prepare the trial of initiation. Appendix # to the esoteric path excerpt from the Little Philosopher of Nature. We often repeat that it is not good to speak to others about personal mystical or psychic experiences which result from your esoteric work. There are two essential reasons for this advice. Experience shows that the fact of telling one's private experiences generally stops their sequence either temporarily or for good. The second reason is that the very nature of these experiences renders them difficult to believe for the one who didn't experience them. We believe, however, that, without giving any specific details about an initiation experience, there is a sure advantage in describing its broad outlines. In this way, everyone has a chance to understand the mechanism of these phenomena and can have a better idea of the path he walked already if he is granted the grace of one of these experiences. We were led to believe that these experiences sooner or later present themselves in the form of a triple series of 3 experiences and that this phenomenon is probably repeated 4 times. However, to this day we are not sure whether one can live through more than a series of 9 experiences in the course of a single terrestrial existence. First series of 3 experiences, we found common points in the stories of the ones who lived through them either partially or totally. Normal physical waking state. Symbolism of passing through a threshold, doorstep, threshold of a gate, entering an alleyway, a forest, etc. A peculiar, strange atmosphere, once you have passed the threshold. The surrounding dates back to a distant past, sometimes several centuries, as the houses and costumes of the people present can testify. The latter do not seem to perceive the one to be initiated. Also, the one to be initiated should not establish any contact with the people he meets. Vision of a chapel, a temple or a great mansion, the gate of which attracts you like a magnet. Entering a worship space and attending the service always presided over by priestesses in orange clothing. Exit, return and going back through the threshold. Everything is complete. Within the next few seconds a small event prevents you from finding again the location you just left and sometimes even the threshold. We have concluded that this first series is an initiation on levels 9, the Moon, 8, Mercury, and 7, Venus. Insofar as the ceremony of initiation leaves you the choice, it is likely that you'll find the same symbols as those of the level concerned in the initiatory chamber. Next, after a delay of 6 to 18 months, you may verify that certain functions corresponding to the levels have been awakened. The Moon, without changing anything or by changing only a few things, eliminates all the obstacles which were blocking the initiatory path. Mercury transforms the being into a miniature thought Hermes that you can grow through your work if your choice is magus or alchemist. Venus provides understanding and a certain authority over nature. Second series of 3 experiences, they take place at night, during sleep or in an in-between state before sleep. Note that they could take place before the series of the 3 previous ones. The state of consciousness you are in is not the dream state as it is a superconscious state. Very often, the ceremony of initiation takes place in a temple located on top of an unending staircase. The planetary characteristic of these experiences is difficult to explain. In a sense, although they are higher than the initiations of the first series, these experiences are less dramatic in terms of consciousness. They concern level 6, Sun, level 5, Mars, and level 4, Jupiter. The result as before is an awakening of the functions of the 3 concerned levels. These functions are difficult to explain in writing except maybe for Jupiter, which provides a profound awakening in the esoteric domain. Comparing the effects of these 2 series of experiences on the terrestrial consciousness is important. In the first series, only the element time is modified in terms of consciousness. If there is a modification of space, its aspect remains essentially terrestrial. Thus, consciousness is very quickly adapted to this situation. Some people only realize the anomaly of the situation when they see the priestesses dressed in orange. In the second series of experiences, the 2 elements time and space are strongly modified. Therefore there is here the possibility of erroneous interpretations. It is particularly the case with the planetary characteristic of the experience, probably due to the very strong influx of the genius of the presence of the concerned level. Therefore a certain number of individuals think that the initiation took place on different planet than Earth. Things become much clearer and more logical if we think that it is an initiation occurring in our own inner world. Third series of 3 experiences, it concerns the higher triad, levels 3, 2, 1. These experiences are beyond space and time because the space-time duality melted into unity, eternity. We think that these initiations have no duration on the terrestrial plane and that, whatever the interpretation made later for the physical consciousness, the experience did not exist in time. Otherwise the physical vehicles of the domain of the finite would be irrevocably destroyed by the contact with the infinite. What do we draw from contacts with these initiations? It is practically impossible to describe these experiences because we cannot access the infinite through the channel of a finite and limited language. So what we can narrate later is but a mutilation of that which has been received. First, we acquire the knowledge that the being is and that it is impossible that it could be otherwise. That is why the universe is and the void is not. Consciousness in this state is omniscient. Everything is known. At once we know and we are aware of all beings. The illusion of time and space disappears into eternity. With each of these 3 experiences an element of knowledge remains. After the return a function of the higher levels is awakened. In the beginning, we mentioned that these 3 series of experiences were actually quadruple, that is 4 times 9 experiences. As a matter of fact, we think that each series of these experiences corresponds to one of the 4 elements in each level. The first is the initiation in all levels with the element earth, the second with water, the third with air and the fourth with fire. There is a 5th series, the last one, which occurs with the quintessence, the balance of the 4 elements, but we do not believe it useful to describe this last series here. Note that if we take level 10 and the 5th series into account, the sequence of the 50 resulting initiations is the passage through the 50 doors of wisdom. It is said that Solomon passed the 49th but failed at the 50th. This text may seem to contradict the initial warning. Actually it is not the case.